Hi everyone, my name is Marissa and I am the creator behind Missouri Mates. Today we have got another tutorial for you. This is a mesh type hat. I don't have a name for it this very second, but it will be in the title. So all of this hat was created with double crochets and chains, and then if you know how to do front post, back post, double crochets here. Yeah, this it fits comfortably on a 22-inch head, but you can stretch it to fit bigger. Or in the video, I will tell you how to decrease enough to make it pretty much any size you want. So, yeah, that is the hat. The yarn and hook that I used. The hook I used is a 5mm crochet hook. I don't know if it focuses or not, but that's a 5mm crochet hook, which is an H. And I didn't use all of this. This was for another project too. It just keeps going and going and going. I used Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the colorway, let's see, Anemone. Is that how you pronounce it? And let's see, there's 482 yards, or 440 meters. What else? Oh, it's 100% acrylic. The recommended hook is 5.5. I used a 5. You can use a 5.5 if you want, but it will come out slightly larger. This is a number 4 weight yarn, so you don't have to have this yarn to make this hat. But the ombre is pretty cool, isn't it? See how it goes from light to dark? You don't have to have this yarn. You can use any number 4 weight yarn you want to create this hat. This is a super slouchy hat. You have probably seen it in the photos at the beginning. Super slouchy, and it's not snug. It fits comfortably, so it will stretch to fit a bigger head if need be. Because my head is a size 22, around about, and it's not snug on me. It fits nicely, and so that is what I made. You can minimize the amount of fabric here if you don't want it as slouchy. I will tell you how to do that as well. But yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's worked from the top down. Just so you know. I don't know if that matters, but it is. It's worked from top down. Alright, let's go ahead and get started on this. That way you can have your very own crochet hat. Okay, so I am going to start by creating a magic ring. And the way I do this is I take the strand and put it between my ring finger and my middle finger and wrap it above the 2 fingers, which is my middle finger and my pointer, underneath the 2 fingers, and back around, creating 2 strands here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crochet hook, insert it underneath this first loop, and then pulling the second one underneath it and giving it a twist. And that's what it should look like. You take the working yarn and put it through that loop, and that creates your magic circle or magic loop, magic ring, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm going to double crochet in this magic ring, making sure that I crochet over this tail. I'm going to chain 1, and that's my repeat. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. And I'm going to do this until I have 8 double crochets. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to make sure that I chain 1 after that last double crochet, and taking this loop here, or not the loop, but the strand here that's attached to our magic ring, I pull on it and it will cinch that circle up. And then I am going to slip stitch that first double crochet that I made. And that is round 1. Alright, so I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 1 space next to the double crochet that we slip stitched into. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that chain 1 space. I'm going to skip this double crochet, and I'm going to place double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Skip the next double crochet, and I'm going to place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that chain 1 space. So you're going to place a V-stitch into each chain 1 space around. Alright, and then you will slip stitch to the first double crochet made, and that ends round 2. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 V-stitches, which means that you should have 16 double crochets with 1 chain space in between each, so 8 chain spaces, and that's what it should look like. Alright, round 3, chain 1, you're going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space, chain 1, place a V-stitch in this chain 1 space, so that's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that V-stitch. I want you to skip 1 double crochet, and I want you to double crochet in between the next V-stitch and the one that you just worked in. So this time you are not working in a stitch, you are working between stitches. Now I want you to skip this double crochet and V-stitch in the next V-stitch, or the chain 1 space. Skip 1 double crochet in between the V-stitches. Skip 1 double crochet, V-stitch in the next chain 1 space. Skip a double crochet between V-stitches. V-stitch in the next chain 1 space. And you'll repeat this pattern all the way around. Okay, I've made it around, and you just did a V-stitch in the last chain 1 space. You're going to double crochet between the beginning V-stitch and the last V-stitch, you'll put a double crochet in there. And then you will slip stitch to the first double crochet made. And that's what round 3, I believe, 1, 2, 3, round 3 should look like. Alright, let's start the next round. You've slip stitched into that double crochet, chain 1, slip stitch into the V-stitch, which would be the chain 1 space, chain 1, and place a V-stitch in that chain 1 space. Now we are going to skip this double crochet, and we're going to place a V-stitch in between this double crochet and this double crochet. So right here, there's no chain 1 space, so you will be working in between stitches. Place a V-stitch there. Skip this double crochet, go to the next chain 1 space and place a V-stitch. Okay, so you're going to skip this double crochet that we did from the previous round, that middle double crochet, and you will V-stitch in between this middle double crochet and the next V-stitch. I hope that makes sense. Skip this double crochet and V-stitch in the next chain 1 space. Okay, let's do it again. So you're skipping in the long run. If you look, here's your first V-stitch. You've skipped 2 double crochets and V-stitch in between the V-stitch and the middle double crochet. You skip 1, V-stitch in the V-stitch. You skip 2, there's your V-stitch. Then you V-stitched into this V-stitch. And so you will be skipping 2 double crochets and working a V-stitch in between the stitches. Skipping 1 double crochet and working a V-stitch in the chain 1 space. And you will repeat this all the way around, and we'll meet back up. Alright, I'm coming to the end of the round. At the end of the round, here is where you slip stitch to finish your round. This is the double crochet that we slip stitched over into the chain 1 space, and so you have 2 double crochets left before you can slip stitch to the first double crochet made to end your round. So we have to put a V-stitch right there. And that ends your round. You will slip stitch to the first double crochet made, and that is what your hat should look like so far. Okay, on to the next round. I have chained 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 1 space, chain 1 again, and double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which is a V-stitch, all in that chain 1 space. Now we have the next V-stitch here. I'm going to place a double crochet here between the V-stitches, and then I'm going to V-stitch in that next chain 1 space. Okay, so what we're doing, before we reach the next V-stitch, we're going to place a double crochet here in this space. It's not a stitch, it's between the stitches. And then we're going to V-stitch into the next chain 1 space. And before we reach our next V-stitch, we're going to put a double crochet into this space between the V-stitches. And then V-stitch in the next chain 1 space. And that's what you do for this round. We'll meet back up at the end. Alright, I am coming up on the end, and I just want to point out that you need to make sure to double crochet between this V-stitch and the first V-stitch of the round to even out your stitches. Slip stitch to the first double crochet made, and that is the end of this round. Let's go on to the next one. Chain 1, slip stitch into the chain 1 space, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that chain 1 space, and then you are going to, kind of like the previous round, a couple rounds ago, what you're going to do is here's the double crochet of your V-stitch, here's the middle double crochet, and you're going to place a V-stitch in between this middle double crochet and the next V-stitch. Just like that. And then we'll place a V-stitch into the next chain 1 space. So we're going to, if you look, V-stitch here, V-stitch here, we've got a middle double crochet in between the V-stitch. So you're going to skip this middle double crochet here, and you will V-stitch in between this middle double crochet and the next V-stitch. And then you'll V-stitch into the next chain 1 space. And you're going to do that all the way around. Alright, I have finished my round, and it's looking all nice and pretty. I slip stitched to the first double crochet that I made at the beginning of the round. Now I'm going to chain 1 to start the next round. And I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space, chain 1, and I'm going to place a V-stitch into that chain 1 space. This is going to be an even round, there won't be any increases. So I'm going to skip these 2 double crochets, and I'm going to V-stitch in the next chain 1 space. Get some more yarn. Okay, skip the 2 double crochets and V-stitch into the chain 1 space. Going to do that all the way around. V-stitch in the chain 1 space. Alright, I will leave you to it and meet back up with you. Alright, I finished my round. I have a stitch marker here because what I'm going to do, my circle is the width that I need it, and so I'm going to continue this last round that we did, which is just even V-stitches all the way around, no more increasing. I'm going to continue that until I get the hat that I need. Right at this moment, I don't know how many rounds that is because I am creating this pattern as I video, but once I come back, I will tell you how many rounds you need to complete this part of the hat. So just, bear with me, and we will get back to the body of the hat. Okay, I am back, and I have the body of my hat done, and from the stitch marker to the end here, I did 9 rounds. So if you want your hat to look like mine, you'll want to do 9 rounds. Now it's time to decrease to make the ribbing for your hat. Now, right now, if yours looks like mine here, it looks pretty big. It looks like it could be a basket. And so that means that we're going to have lots of fabric in the back. It's going to be super slouchy. And the way that I measured to see how many stitches I need to minimize to make it fit my head is I placed this on my head, and then I pinched off the amount of fabric that I needed to remove to make it fit correctly on my head. And for me, I need to remove 30 stitches. And if you look, your V-stitches here, you have 32 V-stitches. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to decrease every V-stitch up until the last two of the round, and I'll leave those as normal. Now, from here on out, we'll be doing regular double crochet, front post and back post to create the ribbing for this hat. And so I slip stitched to the first double crochet made of the round. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to double crochet into that same stitch. And then I'm going to do a double crochet decrease. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into this chain one space because the chain one space does count as a stitch. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop. There's 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over. I've got 3 loops left on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that decreased 1 stitch. Now I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch, and then I'm going to decrease again. I want to decrease 1 stitch every V-stitch until I get to the last 2, and the last 2 we will leave as is. So I'm going to do a decrease here. Oh, my stitch was a little loose. Let's try that again. Okay. Double crochet in the next stitch. Decrease in the next. So yarn over, insert your hook into the chain one space, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, I think I messed that up. Hold on. Let's try that again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the chain one space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 3. And that is a double crochet decrease. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way around. Get some more yarn. Okay, I'm here at the last 2 V-stitches, and I thought I would show you what I was going to do. And all I'm going to do is double crochet into each stitch, including the chain one space. So if you have 2 V-stitches, there should be 6 stitches. Like that. And it still looks big, but it'll cinch in whenever we start on the ribbing. Now, if you decided to change the stitch count other than what I've got here, if you're making a smaller or larger hat, then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you have an even number of stitches for the ribbing. And so, whatever that number may be, you go ahead and get yours to the even number, and we will start. So chain 1, and then you're going to place a front post double crochet in this first double crochet. And then we're going to do a back post. See, here it looks like 2 stitches because we did a decrease. And so what we're going to do is yarn over as if to double crochet, and we're going to complete a back post double crochet around that whole post as if it was 1 stitch, because it is. And you have to make sure that you get that whenever it comes around, because you don't want to accidentally treat that as 2 stitches. Now this is the decrease stitch. You're going to go around the whole thing. Just like that. And up until we reach the last 2 V-stitches, which is the last six stitches, up until then your back post double crochet will always be on the decrease stitch. So up until then you need to make sure you treat all of the decrease stitches as 1, and then whenever we get back to here closer to the end, we'll meet back up. Okay, so I am here on my last 6 stitches, and I don't have any decreases on these, so I'm just going to treat these as if they're like the rest of the stitches. I just did a back post, so I'm going to do a front post. Next one I'll do a back post. Next one will be a front post. And we'll just go back and forth like that. Oops. Until we finish the round. And if you look, I started with the front post and I ended with the back post. That is why we want an even number of stitches when we start, so that we don't have to, you know, fudge anything and make it work. And that is the start of your ribbing. Now from this round that we're fixing to do all the way up until you have the length of ribbing that you want, this is the round you will repeat. You will chain 1 at the beginning, front post around the front post, back post around the back post, front post, back post, front post, back post. How can you tell which one's which? Well, the front post, you're going to have these textured stitches on the front, and the back post, the textured stitches are going to be on the back. These little bumps. Front post is going to be in front, and the back post ones are going to be in the back. And you're going to repeat that all the way around, and I'll come back whenever I have the amount of rounds that I want to do on mine, and I'll tell you how many I did. Okay, so I finished the ribbing as long as I wanted mine to be, and for mine, including the first initial round to get the ribbing started, I did 4 rounds. So after you do the first ribbing round, you'll want to repeat it 3 more times. So go ahead and do yours. You may want your ribbing shorter. You may want it wider. That's up to you. This is just my personal preference. And so it fits exactly the way I want it to. All I gotta do now is snip the yarn and try not to let my tail go. Snip it and weave in my ends, and my hat is ready to go. I hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you never miss another video from Missouri Makes. And I am going to go because I think my roosters are trying to tell me that they want breakfast. So, you have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.